Welcome back to Marvel Good Yay, the spin-off of the Geek Easy podcast where we're going back and rewatching, or I guess just watching in this case, all of the MCU films leading up to the release of Avengers Endgame. I am Pixel Dan,
Jonathan Leonard,
and Jaron McCaffrey.
And today we're getting into a proper discussion on Captain Marvel. We did talk about this one a little bit on the Geek Easy podcast right after the movie first came out, but we still wanted to do a proper episode here on Marvel Good Yay since we've talked about all the other Marvel movies, and this is our very last one before Avengers Endgame comes out. Really exciting stuff. So let's just jump right into it. You got the stats ready on this one? Because this just came out this year. This is a 2019 film.
It's another one with no production budget information out there. Well, I don't know if it's out there. It's not where I look. But we do have box office information. So far, a total of $394 million domestically. This is still in theaters, still running.
Yeah.
Strong enough. You know, it's still making some money. But that's as of this recording. Foreign total of 677.999994.
That's a lot of nines.
Pretty much 678 million. Yeah. Call it. For a grand total of $1.072 billion. Another one in the $1 billion club. I think there's 6 or 7 of these Marvel movies.
Yeah.
In the $1 billion club. And again, this one is and counting. It's definitely slowed down almost to a halt at this point. We're not going to see any big jumps. I don't know if Endgame coming out will give it a little bit of a boost in its final weeks or anything like that.
It'd be interesting to see.
I mean, it's not going to kick it up 10 million more or anything like that.
Right.
So we're looking at somewhere in the $103, $105 million range when all is said and done, I think. But that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It seems like it's performed really well.
Yep. It's another one that I could probably peg somewhere between 150 and 200 million on the production budget, if I had to guess.
Right. And so this is an interesting one too, because this is one where we're getting a little bit of a period piece again, much in the way that we were introduced to Captain America by jumping back to World War II and seeing his origin story. With Captain Marvel, we're actually jumping back to the 1990s to get her origin story, which is pretty interesting stuff. So this takes place outside of the current timeline within the Marvel Universe, but we know that this is setting her up to appear within, and at this point we all know that she's going to show up in Endgame. There was the teaser at the end of Infinity War, which was kind of a lead into this, but also kind of let us know that she's going to be a player in the fight against Thanos.
Right.
So this movie kind of basically acts as a way to introduce us to the character and show us what she's all about.
Well, and not to skip all the way to the very end, but one of the post-credit sequences here is her basically showing up with the Avengers.
Right. Yes.
So I mean, we get right to it. We know that's what's coming.
Right.
It just starts in a blockbuster.
It starts in a blockbuster. Yeah, essentially. So this is a character that I have always known about but never really followed. She always went by Miss Marvel in the comics when I was younger.
Yep.
I think it's only more recently that they've really started referring to her as Captain Marvel, right?
Yes.
Within the last several years.
But there's been several Captain Marvels, haven't there?
Just the
comics?
two.
Just two?
Just her and
Marvel,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Because Carol Danvers was still Miss Marvel, I think.
Okay.
There was a character. So there was a brief stint where Marvel was like banished to the negative zone, and he had a character who swapped places with him. Right, so he was a normal human that had like the same bracelets, and he could hit the bracelets together and swap places. But then after Marvel, so it seemed like kind of a Billy Bats and Shazam situation, except it was completely different people. But the other guy was never Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Same name.
Right.
What's going on there?
Yeah, the other guy was never Captain Marvel. He was just how Captain Marvel showed up places.
Yeah.
There is another character currently in the books called Captain Marvel, I think, where she's got like a weird I want to say she's got like a stretchy arm kind of power or something.
No,
like
she's
that,
Miss
right?
Marvel.
Oh, she's Miss
Marvel?
Marvel?
She's the new Miss Marvel.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Kamala Khan, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's who I'm talking about.
She's the new Miss
Marvel. Okay. So as a comic book fan, as from a kid, being a kid and everything, the only thing I ever really knew about Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, was that she was the character that Rogue got her powers from.
Yes. Yep.
Because Rogue used her absorbing ability and like to the max on her to the point that like it put her in a coma.
Yeah.
And Rogue permanently got her flight and super strength, which is why Rogue has those powers. Mm-hmm. So that is literally the only thing I really knew about Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, other than the fact that I know that she exists and I know that she's a character out there. So this movie is pretty fresh for me as far as like the origins and all that stuff. I don't really know. I didn't really follow all this.
So I didn't know anything about it going in.
Yeah. So I actually knew a little bit about Captain Marvel because this one time I found a graphic novel called The Death of Captain Marvel at a garage sale that I bought for 10 cents or whatever.
Right.
And it was the weirdest, most boring comic I've ever read.
Really?
Because it's just, because the original Captain Marvel just died of cancer.
Oh,
and
okay.
There's basically this whole graphic novel, and I still have it somewhere. It's probably really good to read, but as a kid, buying comics for superhero stuff to just reading this comic about this superhero dying of cancer is super weird. Yeah. Although but like and it was so I was so like, man, this comic book, like it did make me want to find out more about like do all Captain Marvel comic books suck? So like I it was weird, like but it piqued my interest, and I did go and find out some more about Captain Marvel because of it. So that's why I know, even though I can't remember the other dude's name. But that's why I know a little bit about it.
Got it. All right. Who wants to get us started with this one?
Jaron can.
Oh, okay. Jaron doesn't have notes this time.
I don't have any notes. Yeah. But I'm a big fan. So we start with Carol. Mm-hmm. Well, we start with Veers.
She's Veers, right?
She starts off being called Veers on the Kree homeworld.
Yeah.
And she wakes up. She's having a dream. And she wakes up and decides to go have a fight with Jude Law, who is Jan Rog. Is that how you say his name?
I think that sounds
Jan Rog. Yeah. But he's a Kree soldier, and she's being trained as a Kree soldier.
Right.
And they kind of have this, mentor-trainee relationship where he's telling her about, don't use your powers, and you got to be able to, fight this way, and don't be so emotional, and all this stuff, pretty standard stuff that we're used to hearing from like that mentor character, right?
Right.
And of course she can't, and she blasts him with her powers and gets in trouble and has to go commune with the Supreme Intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so like right off the bat, it puts me in kind of a weird. The movie puts you in kind of a weird spot because we've only ever seen the Kree as villains.
Yes.
You know?
Like the Kree have already been around in the MCU. We know that they're not good guys from what we've seen.
It took me mentally a little while to associate that when I first saw it.
Oh, really?
I wasn't like I just wasn't in that frame of mind, I guess, because it was one of those deals where I was like, I just associated them as good guys because Captain Marvel was one of them, and then I think it was when like Digimon Houston showed up, and I was like, oh, he was in good. Oh yeah, he was the same guy. Oh yeah, like what is going on here?
Right.
Also, like, I mean, most of them are blue, and some of them just aren't. Like, why does
Jan Rog?
Why is he look like a human with cool eyes?
Maybe he's not like an actual Kree species, but he is a soldier on the planet Kree. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe it's something like that.
I am not sure.
Yeah.
That's so probably there is a fan and a listener.
Yeah, who could tell us?
Who can comment why, but there's also, the Kree Empire or whatever it is kind of, I mean, they rule a lot of planets.
Right.
Yes. So it's not a huge stretch to imagine that there is
other species
and stuff kind of involved.
Just part of this Kree Empire, right?
Right, or that maybe, there's like pure Kree, and then, maybe some, I don't know, lower Kree.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I don't know again, but let us know.
Save our show, fans.
Say
Yeah.
it.
Well, I was just giving them time to go down and write. I know they got to type. Veers goes and communes with this Supreme Intelligence, who is a woman that she doesn't remember. So they set
Annette
up.
Bening.
Thanks, John.
Probably she doesn't recognize
She
her.
doesn't remember her, John.
Oh.
She doesn't remember why she's. So the Supreme Intelligence in this shows up to you, however, as the person you admire most.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how when you commune with them, that's how you see them. And the Supreme Intelligence basically is like, you probably don't need to worry about who you used to be. Just go out there and control yourself and do what we want you to do.
Yeah.
And they send her on a mission. And they go on the mission.
And it's a scroll mission, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This
Oh,
is where you get-
Yeah,
yes.
they've
So,
introduced the scrolls
So,
a little
yeah.
bit on
Yeah.
billboards and stuff throughout
Yeah.
the Kree homeworld there.
Yep.
They're talking about the number of days since the Skrull attack, and they've got it showing them changing forms and how they can look like anybody.
Right.
And so they get sent on this mission, and they show up in this world, and they even say that the accusers are going to bomb a certain area
Yeah.
as a distraction, and so we'll just sneak in, and we're not to mess with the locals
Yep.
at all, and they won't mess with us, hopefully. But we're just going to extract the guy and get back. Nobody's the wiser, hopefully. They get there, and they're set up in their different places, and immediately communications start going down. And so one of them is basically the sniper, and she's sitting in the back kind of eyeballing people. And one of the other ones walks up to her because her comm's gone down and says, "Hey, no, we found some dead ones, but no green. Nobody's a Skrull. It's just locals and they're starving to death. No big deal." And she's like, she takes that for granted and then looks back through her scope and sees the guy she's talking to
Right.
down there on the ground too. So she
Yeah.
immediately turns around and kills him.
Yeah.
And then everybody realizes it's an ambush. And throughout this mix, there's a little bit of a fight and a dust up, but basically Veers finds the person they're looking for, checks his code, which no one should be able to steal. It checks out, and then she still finds out that he actually is a Skrull who knocks her out and kidnaps her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which and all this is a lot more enthralling than it sounds as we're explaining it right now.
Yeah, we're kind of numbering it down.
Well,
but
yeah. I think there is kind of an interesting. We talked about we're seeing the Skrull. You know, she's part of the Skrull or the part of the Kree. We've only seen the Kree as bad guys,
Right.
But they're kind of like portraying their Kree empire almost, federationists. You know,
Yeah,
stars,
totally.
everything's clean and everything kind of works. You know what I mean? Everybody's seems in harmony. You know, it's not the evil empire where it's not a fascist state.
Yeah.
You know, like you were used to seeing evil empires.
Yeah.
And of course, we're introduced to the team that she goes on the mission with, and they're kind of like a motley crew with fun banter right off the bat. You know, it's not like an imperial,
Right.
garrison. You know what I mean? Loading up with a bunch of stormtroopers.
Right.
So they're presenting it in a real interesting way and kind of trying to get you in that mindset of like, hey, these are the good guys, So Veers gets captured, and then we start to see some of her memories.
Oh, that's right, because the scrolls are...
The Skrulls have a way. So she's been captured by some Skrulls, and the Skrulls have a way of extracting her memories, which she doesn't even have yet. So she's seeing her memories and being confused by them.
Right.
This was one of those, I thought this was a really cool scene, but man, I really need to see this movie twice because I get thrown off pretty quickly by nonlinear storytelling anyway, so maybe it doesn't throw other people off nearly as much. But I had no idea what was going on here, and then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is all great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool seeing the flashbacks, and you get to see some of young Carol. through here, which is I think is one of those things. I think I read that they filmed like a lot of footage for like her in all these different stages, and only a few seconds of it really get to the movie.
Right.
But you get some insight into her basically always getting knocked down. All these different moments where you know
trying to do stuff and it being too much.
Right.
Exactly. But continuing to persevere and do the next thing also.
Yeah.
But the whole point that they're looking for is basically trying to track down
Annette Bening.
Annette Bening, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Which they start to get a bead on her, and that's when Carol wakes up.
Yeah.
And when she wakes up, you know, the systems sort of stop working, and she's just sitting there trying to figure out where she is. And then the like one of the little scrolls, like they're basically watching a monitor of her mind, and one of the little scrolls that's working on her comes up and just sort of taps her on the head. And, like, it's great because the image starts to flicker in the background and the main scroll turns on. It's like, oh, that did something. Do that again. But then, you know, she fully comes awake. She starts using her little beams to break her photon blast.
Beams.
Those tiny little beams, you know.
To break free, breaks her legs free. But then she gets into this giant scroll fight through the ship, except she's still got these shackles on her arms. So she's basically just punching dudes with these big metal things, but she keeps trying to blast them, and she can't, you know?
Yeah.
So that was neat.
Yeah. She's wrecking the place.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Nobody. She takes out the whole ship, then finally gets the gauntlet thing she's trapped in off and blows a big hole in the ship.
Yep. Wipes through them all, jumps in an escape pod, flies down to Earth. That gets wrecked also, so she basically falls out of that and into the blockbuster. And that's seen from the trailer and everything. Where she goes, which is a really weird blockbuster. You pointed out too when we were watching it. We have no idea how their ordering system works.
With stuff just randomly in there.
Yeah, like it wasn't alphabetical. It wasn't by genre. No. I don't know what they were doing. Yeah. There's a bunch of Schwarzenegger movies, though.
Yeah.
She blows up that True Lies standee right away.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw a Hook in the background.
There's a Hook. There's a Jumpin' Jack Flash. There's like a Predator.
They're just trying to set
they're just like, oh, what are some 90s movies?
Yeah, here's all these movies that you remember from this era. This is, yeah, that's what that was.
So, but she lands in this blockbuster. She comes out. This is one of those where there's points of this movie that kind of throw me off. I enjoy this movie quite a bit as well. I have not, after 3 viewings, been able to fully describe my feelings on certain aspects of it. And one of them is how open she is about everything. Like, I feel like she should have some semblance of an idea that Earth has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But she's just talking to everyone who approaches her as if they were also intergalactic citizens, you know? Which I guess technically maybe they are, but clearly no one has a clue what she's talking about, but she continues to talk to them like they should.
Right.
And she's just overly glib.
So you know what it reminds me of? And I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about this last night. Fine for me. Whatever. Doesn't matter. The timeline. I was thinking about this before. It reminds me of She-Ra before she is, when she's still part of the Horde, and she just is believing the Horde lies.
Totally.
So like if she's just assuming that, like she's been being conditioned by the Kree for 6 years, trying to convince her that she's part of the Kree or whatever, so they probably have just been telling her like straight out like, look, we just run everything, we rule everything, and the Skrulls are the bad guys. And, so like she lands on this planet and she just assumes like, well, this planet's probably run by the Kree too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if she's intergalactic special forces, I feel like she would know that some planets aren't in the loop.
I mean,
I don't know.
Does that make sense?
I could see either way,
except she hasn't been
that'd be like a Navy SEAL showing up in Afghanistan and being like, why don't they speak English?
But this is also her first mission.
I was going to say
she's been in training. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did kind of make that clear. I feel like this is her first time really going out there and doing stuff, right? So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not how they teach people. Maybe on there they're just like, hey, everybody's a Kree except for the Skrulls. They're bad.
I don't know how the Kree have gotten this far in this war. But it is a fun little scene because she walks out of the Blockbuster and walks straight up to a security guard, and she's like, "Hey, are you head of security in this area?" And he's like, "Kinda. The movie theater has its own guy, you know? But she's looking for communications equipment, so he points her to a Radio Shack. She goes and somehow breaks into the Radio Shack and furnishes a way to turn a payphone into something that can video call with her spaceship.
Yeah,
you know, however many
light
years away, and talks to
Jude Law.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Jan
Rog. I never, ever remember that. Yeah, you've corrected me on this show 10 times now. Over 2 episodes.
Let's start keeping track.
She talks to Jan Rog.
That's why I just tried to give you the out with Jude Law.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She talks to Jan Rog, Jan Law, whatever.
Jan Law, Jude Rog.
Tells him that the Skrulls have a way of getting into the mines. So
it's like a Viking drink. I'll have some more Jude Rog.
I'll have another.
Sorry.
Warns him that the Skrulls have a way of getting into their minds because the guy had the code that he should have been able to have. She runs out of time because the long distance rates start to apply. Yeah. But he's basically telling her to lie low, and she's like, "Nope, gonna find out what's going on."
Yep.
And that's when Nick Fury shows up.
Yeah.
Young Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Which,
and a young Coulson.
And a young Coulson.
Mm-hmm.
Young Coulson at no point in this movie was off-putting to watch. The Nick Fury, man, the de-aging is as good as it's ever been here. This looks like 40 to 45-year-old Sam Jackson, no problem. And it's delightful. And he acts like 40 to 45-year-old Sam Jackson because Sam Jackson hasn't changed in 30 years.
Right, yeah.
There are a couple of scenes that are a little more action-y or even just wide shots of him moving where, I mean, he's a 45-year-old Sam Jackson that moves like a 70-year-old Sam Jackson.
Right.
Yeah. It's a little off-putting
really
to watch.
Yeah.
You know, he gets into a fight scene at one point, and you're just like, whoa, my brain cannot handle what is happening in front of me right now.
Well, bro, you can't CGI cartilage back in the knees. That's all there is to it.
Truth.
That's all there is.
Oh, man.
But overall, I mean, glad they used him. I'm super happy to see him here. He's very entertaining throughout the whole movie. Just a warning, if you haven't watched it, prepare for that.
Yeah.
Well, and now if you didn't notice it,
you're gonna.
Yeah.
Now you're never gonna not.
Never
see
watch this again.
It's probably not that serious.
No, probably not.
Still
it's a pretty
a good movie.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy him in this movie. Yeah. I feel like he's a lot of fun throughout the whole thing. I really like here in the scene how he's just such a different Nick Fury than we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Because it really kind of, like, he is with S.H.I.E.L.D. here, but it kind of puts into perspective how small the universe still is in this era. Because they're not used to seeing aliens and weird stuff or anything. So he's like, he doesn't quite believe what she's saying here, right? He's laughing it off. He's kind of funny. They're kind of doing that thing where they're almost treating her like she's a crazy person because she's talking about all the things
shape-shifting
that
aliens.
Like she's just being dead serious and explaining everything that's going on, and he's just kind of like, right, okay, yeah. Yep. And it's just so interesting seeing like a different kind of Fury like this. It's so different than we've ever seen Nick Fury before. But I thought that was a fun way to like look at the character in this movie, because as we come to find out, this movie's kind of the turning point for the character, right? Yeah. It's kind of the thing that shifts him towards the direction of being the Fury that we know in all of the other movies.
Yeah, I kind of did not like him.
No,
and I talked a little bit about this when we talked about it on the Geek Easy. But I just felt like he was too different.
Too different?
He was too different. And I felt like he was too different, and he hadn't changed enough by the end. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I would have had him. I think I would have been a lot more okay with it if we had seen the change in him.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
But even by the end, he's still kind of. He's not Nick Fury, you know. Like some pretty heavy stuff happens, you know. I mean, they go, you know, jumping ahead a little bit. Like he goes to space, you know. He meets some shape-shifting aliens. He fights some Kree, you know. Like he does a lot of stuff that could have jaded him pretty hard here, and I think that would have been, you know, I would have been happier with that to see like a hard shift in him, rather than just kind of have to assume that between now and Iron Man, he goes from, singing "Wait a Minute, Mr. Postman" in the kitchen to, trench coat, eye patch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Because this is 10 to 15 years tops.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know what else he's seen as he's progressed through S.H.I.E.L.D. by any means. It's not totally unbelievable, but you're right. If they're going to bother to put him in this and put him through all of this, there could have been some additional gravity put on that character,
For sure. So
he is funny.
He was fine to watch. I mean, like I don't say that. Like the character was fine. Like he was entertaining in the movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Jackson did well. Like I enjoy watching Sam Jackson do stuff. But he was almost relegated to like comic relief.
Yeah.
And never got out of that role. Like if they're gonna make Nick Fury comic relief, he's got to pay it off somehow.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
He just was still comic relief.
I agree with that.
All right, where do we go from here? Where do we want to talk about?
So we get a lot of once Carol and Sam Jackson hook up, we get them just trying to unravel the mystery.
Yeah.
And they kind of form their alliance and they kind of get each other. Let's see. She steals the motorcycle and puts on a 9 Inch Nails shirt.
Yeah.
A lot of little 90s nods that are fun.
Yeah.
It gave the movie a little bit of character. I liked that.
This was another one, too, that had a pretty great soundtrack, considering the era that we grew up in was this era.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, man, there's several times in this movie where I'm just like, yeah, all right. Like a song would come on, and I'd be like, okay, there's my teenage years right there. And I could feel this,
And I forgot how prevalent girl rock was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because they hit you with a lot of it here, just to remind you. I mean, it's not fully. There's some Nirvana and stuff like that mixed in there also. But, they hit you with a lot of those just reminders. Like, oh yeah, there was, there was a lot of this back then.
Yep.
We get the scene where they infiltrate a S.H.I.E.L.D. installation.
Yeah.
And Pegasus to find out, because they're still looking for Annette Bening. And so they get into this secret bunker, figure out that Annette Bening was a Kree. They run away from that. They escape that together, and then they go to Louisiana to visit Veer's friend.
Right.
Which is where they find out. Which is where they start to piece things together a little more.
This is where she learns that her actual name was Carol Danvers.
Right.
And the Veers came from her dog tag being broken, right? And that's when that's why the Kree called her Veers, was because that was on the broken part of the dog tag. So she starts piecing that together, and it's cool because she's starting to kind of like feel it here too, right?
Yeah.
Like she's because the daughter's kind of attaching to her a little bit, and they got a lot of that going on, and she's got
Carol.
and she's got the pictures, and she's got the old bomber jacket,
right,
and all that kind of stuff. So things are starting to feel a little more like she's realizing that she did have a life here, and these were obviously close people to her and stuff like that.
And that's when the Skrulls show up.
I was going to say, and then the Skrulls show up here. Yeah.
Which is a big turning point in the movie, and the big revelation we go through here, I think, is the main Skrull who had kidnapped her, had tried to infiltrate her brain. They had fought a little bit on that ship. He had then taken over Sam Jackson's boss, was the lead in that fight when they were trying to get out of that installation. He shows up now. There's another Skrull outside kind of guarding the daughter, and there's this tense moment where there's this kind of face-off, and he's like, look, like, I mean, I'm not trying to do any tricks here. I'm here as me. I want to talk to you about some of this stuff that's going on because I think you've been duped by some of this stuff.
Right.
And they even do that moment where, they're like, well, if you're here, just straight up, what's going on outside with the other one? He's like, well, I gotta do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he lays it all out for them, a story, the version of the story that she's never heard, basically.
Yep.
That they are being persecuted they are just looking for a home. The Kree
they refused to join the Kree. They refused to bow down to the Kree Empire. So the Kree is trying to exterminate
the Kree showed up to take over their world, and they said no, and now they're being hunted and exterminated. And again, you get that, history's always written by the winners.
Yeah.
So Carol, as a Kree, has believed everything she's been told, and now she's seeing the other side of that coin for the first time. And, she starts to believe it.
Yep.
And so they have
the recording of the black box from her crash.
Yeah.
And here's where we get the full story.
Yeah.
So they listen to the recording of the black box, which has that great moment where they're waiting for it to load.
Oh
They're loading it on the 90s computer, and she's like, "What's going on? Why is it taking so long?" The humans are just like, "It's loading."
Yeah.
That's what it does. But then they hear it, and everything comes back to her, and she remembers that she was flying with Annette Bening, who we find out is Marvell,
yep.
who was trying to build a light speed engine, and then the Kree showed up and shot her down, and then it was actually
trying to help it build it to help the Skrulls.
Yep. And then it was actually Jude Rogg who showed up and shot them down.
Yep. And then he basically just took Carol Danvers back to Kree.
Yep.
And yeah.
Well, after the engine explodes, gives her powers.
Right.
Now we've got the orange. She shoots it. Yep.
Which is why he takes her, right? Because he blows it up. She absorbs the powers, which is what gives her powers. So this is still I don't know, and maybe because have they already revealed at this point it's a Tesseract? Like we can bring that up though, right?
It's next.
Like okay, yeah, because is that when they get up to the space station? Okay. So that's where they end up going, to the space station.
They fly up to Marvell's space station, and that's where we find out this energy source is the Tesseract.
The Tesseract. So boom, the Tesseract's back again. And this was the energy source for this drive that she was gonna.
Guess who's back?
Back
again.
Tesseract.
Tell a friend.
Did the same thing.
So, okay. I want to talk about like the explosion thing and her getting her powers. Because I don't feel like I quite understand this still.
Okay.
So like, do her powers come from the Infinity Stone? Did she absorb some of the Tesseract, like which one's inside the
Space Stone?
The Space Stone. So did she absorb some of the Space Stone, and that's what gives her flying and super strength and space beams things that she can shoot? Or was that from this quantum drive or whatever it was that was being built? Quantum. I just put quantum in front of everything. Yeah. Hyperdrive or whatever it was that she was building.
So they didn't explain that.
Yeah, I know.
So the way what they kind of explained is that she had built this. Light speed engine.
Right.
Marvell built a light speed engine.
Quantum light speed engine.
Quantum light speed. But it needed a power source.
Oh.
They
should have got some of those batteries.
The Harbulary batteries?
Harbulary batteries, yeah.
Yes.
For the quantum light speed.
For the quantum light speed generator.
This is productive.
So the Tesseract is going to be the power source. Now, they never really explain, had she already charged it up one time? You know what I mean? They don't really explain that. When they get to the space station and the Tesseract is right there, she just picks it. She just straight picks it up, and nothing happens.
Yes. Yep.
So you almost feel like there had to be.
Well, like other beings have held the Tesseract, like Loki's held it.
Loki,
fine,
but he's an Asgardian.
He's an Asgardian.
Yeah, but I mean, he can't just pick up a stone. I don't think.
But
I don't think the Tesseract carries the same.
Red Skull couldn't hold the Tesseract.
Red Skull touched, and nobody in Captain America, like humans can't touch the Tesseract.
Yeah, but she's not human.
And Nick Fury makes sure to not touch it in this movie, right? Or didn't they allude to it that he couldn't touch it?
Yeah.
I'm almost positive that was a thing in this.
Well, but
he
I'm
didn't,
saying,
he didn't
like-
want to touch it, but
Like she doesn't have to be powered by it to pick it up. Is all I'm saying. Like she's she is beyond human.
Okay, so she's a super being of. She can wield an Infinity Stone. So
I don't think it's. I don't think Loki could just pick up an Infinity Stone.
But do you think?
I think
you
he
think
can
the
pick up the
cube?
casing.
The cube is able to.
Yeah, I think the cube weakens that effect.
Okay, all right. You might be right. It wasn't. It did stand out to me though that she was able to just pick it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it does stand out. I just don't think it and she may be powered by it.
Yeah,
I just don't think that one necessarily leads to the other.
It melted through the floor of that ship in Captain America. Remember?
Yeah, but it sits in the.
It sits in that lunchbox pretty good.
Fine.
What's going on here, Marvel? I need an explanation, please.
We need
MCU.
Maybe
You've dropped the ball. This whole thing's over. It's ruined.
It's ruined. Ant-Man and the Wasp, and now this.
It's rough.
There's
definitely no chance we're missing something.
And in games not called Avengers Assemble, I don't even want to see it.
Here we go with that again.
I'm done.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Danny just hit stop.
Here's my other thing.
Okay.
So they're on the space station. All the other Skrulls are there. The
Yep.
families are there. They reunite.
Refugees.
Refugees. There's kids Skrulls and all this stuff. Okay, so the big swerve with this movie was that the Skrulls are probably the good guys and the Kree are the bad guys. Except if you're at all familiar with the comic books, this feels very strange to me.
Yeah.
Personally, I have a real hard it feels weird to me.
Yeah.
Making the Skrulls sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because the Skrulls have never been good in the books. So the Kree versus Skrull war has always been one of those big moments in the comics. It gets referenced a lot. It's always kind of one of those things that it's a big deal that it happened in the books.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that come to the MCU finally. But both of those guys, the Kree and the Skrulls, have always been treated as bad guys.
Right.
They had this war against each other, but neither one of them are technically good guys because we've got problems with both of them here.
Yep.
And I mean the Skrulls specifically, we've got the Super Skrull that was built to fight the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
That was a big villain in the early Fantastic Four books. They fought the Skrulls,
right.
and they made the Super Skrull specifically to fight the Fantastic Four. And then in more recent memory, they did the big Secret Invasion storyline where the Skrulls were infiltrating Earth and pretending to be some of the Marvel superheroes. So I don't know. It's really interesting that they've made the Skrulls sympathetic in this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel weird about it. I don't know if I trust it, and maybe that's the way we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Maybe the comic fans are supposed to feel this way,
Right.
and the general public who don't know anything about the Skrulls, they won't see it coming kind of a thing. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're setting us up for.
We also have a snapshot of one group of refugees.
You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe this one group is different than the Skrull race in general, or the Skrull, a specific army of Skrulls. I don't know. You might be right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where they go with the Skrulls now that they've been introduced into the MCU, because we've even had speculations before talking about what's next after Thanos and all this stuff, and Skrulls and Secret Invasion has kind of come up in our discussions before. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, this could be laying the groundwork for a lot of different things.
Yeah,
it could be a one-off. We might never see a Skrull again.
Right.
But if they come out with the next movie and they're like, oh, look at these alien terrorists, you know, they can still be Skrulls. Just because some are good doesn't mean all are.
Okay. Well, and even the main guy, what's it, Talos?
Yeah, something like that.
The main Skrull in this says at one point, my hands are filthy from this war too.
Yeah.
My hands, or I think my hands are soaked in blood or something like that. Yeah. So he acknowledges he's done bad things. Right. Because of this stuff too. So, I personally love it, man.
Yeah.
I really like that they. I like the swerve because they got me.
Yeah.
So I will always.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will always appreciate that.
They got me in the casting too, because that Ben Mendelsohn. I don't think I've ever seen him play a good guy.
yeah.
So as soon as he's like, obviously he's the lead evil person,
The evil Skrull in the movie. Yeah.
So even halfway through when they're going through the whole explanation, I wasn't like, it was a while before I bought it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I like some of the stuff they do overall for the MCU, as opposed to the comics. Is they make small changes that make the world more complex.
Yeah.
And less good and evil.
Right. You're right.
And more shades of gray.
Which is more realistic, right?
Because well, and it does create interesting opportunities because now when they bring the next time Skrulls show up, we're gonna wonder.
Yeah,
these guys, good guys or bad guys?
Yeah.
And so that gives us another element to like what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of it.
Okay,
big fan.
Cool. Okay, so where are we? Oh, wait, the cat's here.
Yep. It's Flurkin.
It's not a cat.
Goose is the name, right? Yeah, it's not a cat. That keeps being a thing throughout the whole thing. Yep. I love, too, how Sam Jackson's so attached to it, but the Skrulls are terrified of it.
Yeah.
Because they know what it really is.
Yeah.
Get that thing away from me.
Yeah, get that thing. It's just a cat. I don't understand. He's so cute. Like the way Nick Fury's playing with it is hilarious.
Yeah.
But the Kree show up here, right?
Yes, the Kree arrive.
And they want the Tesseract.
Yep.
Yeah.
They want it all. I mean, they want the Tesseract. They want to kill them Skrulls.
Yeah, kill them Skrulls.
They just come in, mustaches a twirling, man.
Yeah.
We're here for the evil. I'm Drew Grog.
The cat's got giant tentacles in his mouth, and he starts eating Kree.
Yeah. Well, first it eats the Tesseract.
Oh yeah, it eats the Tesseract
because Sam Jackson won't touch it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess first we need to go talk about they capture Carol and send her back in to talk to the Supreme Intelligence.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know, like that. I don't know what they thought was gonna happen. Like, oh, he'll re-brainwash her. What, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that just seems weird. Like, well, she's obviously turned against us. Let's make her.
Yeah, like I guess I don't know where they were going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I didn't put that much thought into it in the first place. I assumed it was more disciplinary measures, but I don't know what they were gonna do.
Yeah.
But this is an excuse to get some Nirvana in.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is where it shows up, and they're playing "Come as You Are."
Yeah.
Which is just
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there going, I mean, it was a cool song. They don't understand what "Come as You Are" was like for us, our generation.
Right. Yeah.
And this is where this is where Carol Danvers basically just like shrugs off and is like, oh well, I
was
just
definitely one of the parts that made me cry.
Where she's standing up.
Yeah, they keep going back through the whole thing. All those scenes of her getting knocked down from earlier on, they start going back through those again as she's just kind of going through this like mind trip. And so it's her at different ages, just, like she wrecks a go-kart at one point. She gets knocked down by a pitch in a baseball game or a softball game or whatever it is. She's in the Air Force Academy, and they're telling her all the things she can't do because she's not strong enough, and she falls off this rope and all this stuff. And then as she's coming to this like realization of her own and deciding basically she's going to stand up to this power that keeps pushing her down, they just show every time she gets knocked down, they show the aftermath of her standing up at every age with that same look of determination in her face as it goes through. And then she gets to this realization moment of like, I don't have to listen to this. I don't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
I have all this power and I've let you control it for this long, but it doesn't have to be that way. So what happens when I just decide that's not going to happen anymore? And basically kind of charges at the Supreme Intelligence, who starts to hold her back, and Carol just starts walking right through it,
Yeah.
And in the real time, like, she's sitting there shackled, and she's got that thing on her neck that's been inhibiting her powers the whole time. Well, she starts to glow and rise, which was it you said when we were watching it yesterday? You're like, why didn't they just murder her right there?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as she's sitting there, like, shackled and starts glowing and lifting off.
Well, Well, yeah.
Hey, you know,
I mean,
blast her and let's be done with this.
If Jude-Rog had just been like, hey, just somebody shoot her quick.
Yeah. But they don't, so she, inside the realm there, she just bursts right through the Supreme Intelligence. Outside, that inhibitor just kind of pops and fizzles.
Pops right off.
Yeah, she breaks out and picks that thing off, and we could just get that moment of, like, she's just glowing, you know, like toe to head.
Super Saiyan.
She just goes on.
Yeah, full Super Saiyan. Yeah.
She has unlocked her powers, and now she's about to wreck some folk.
Yeah.
And then we get this giant battle scene to that No Doubt song.
Yes.
Oh,
which is also awesome.
Yeah.
Which is also, I was laughing too, because like this Kree force, like they're just super weird. Like one guy has like, and like Jude-Rog has like anti-gravity bracelets. One guy has like a sword. The Minerva has like a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just no, like, I don't know who was outfitting them. They just picked whatever they wanted.
Yeah, totally.
Like it would have been real helpful if they had all had guns.
Right.
But yeah, she just wrecks them.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm not sure it would have been.
Well.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned at all that Ronan the Accuser is in this movie too again, which is awesome stuff. It's just real cool getting to see him again since Guardians of the Galaxy.
We get to see him up close pretty soon here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. So I just thought that was a lot of fun. And also the way they leave it, like it's possible we could see him again, too, with future Captain Marvel stuff, which is pretty cool.
Well, because that's the whole... I mean, she wipes through the spaceship. She's basically trying to cause a diversion so Sam Jackson can get everybody off the ship.
Yeah.
That's when... the Flurkin starts eating Kree guys or whatever.
Yes.
We get to one moment where they get captured by some Kree, and then we realize that it's actually the Skrull. And so they lead him to the ship. The Skrulls take out the Kree that are still there. They all get on board, and they all blast off back to Earth. The main Skrull does take a shot as they're going through, because I think Jude Law got to him right before they were going through. But then they send the ships after Sam Jackson and Rambo. I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
that was her last name.
Yeah,
Carol's friend.
Carol's friend.
Yeah, who's flying the ship around. They're flying away, trying to get away from these Kree that are trying to chase them down and shoot them out of the sky, basically. Meanwhile, Carol figures out she jumps on Jude-Rog's ship.
Yep.
And is flying it down to Earth. And at one point, when she gets down into the atmosphere, she falls off of that thing and is just plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. And right before she hits the ground, she has that moment where she starts to fly.
Yeah.
And then just takes off, because at one point she even flies by Sam Jackson's ship, and him and Rambo are like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
And she's just flying around taking out.
Man, dude.
Yeah, because this is when the accusers show up.
Yeah.
And start. They're basically just going to bomb Earth because Earth has some Skrulls on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they send like 50 giant rocket bombs down, and she just goes. They do that thing where like she goes up, and like it's a struggle for her to get one of them out. To take one of them out, she takes the lead one out by catching it. But by the time she struggles and gains the power to, she throws it back in, and it just blows all of the other ones
dominoes.
up.
Yeah.
And then she flies into space without any problem at all, and just starts wiping through fighter jets.
Just like flying through them and just taking them out.
Takes out an entire accuser ship, like one of the giant ones, just by flying through it until it explodes, and then flies up to Ronan's window, essentially. And that's when we get our close-up of Ronan, and he's like, "Yeah, get back to the jump point.
Let's get out of here.
Go, you know. Yeah. But we're gonna be back for the weapon." And they're like, "Oh, the warp drive or the tesseract or whatever they say," and he's like, "Nope, the girl."
Yep.
Yeah.
But they leave at that point, and this is when Carol flies back down, lands near where Jude-Rog crashed. Jude-Rog, excuse me.
Jude-Rog, yep.
They have this great scene there that one of my favorites in the movie that I actually absolutely loved, where he gets out of the ship and he draws his gun and he gets his little anti-grav thing ready, and he walks a few feet and he stops. He's like, I am so proud of you. And he starts putting everything back, He's like, you've come so far. We've done so much. I've taken you so far. But, I've always said you'll be ready to really fly free when you can take me down without using your powers. So, we'll throw all this stuff to the side. No weapons, no power, no anything. This is your moment. This is your moment right here where you can really prove to me, and prove to yourself that you're really ready. So let's go. Let's just go. And she just blasts him with a photon blast, knocks him back 100 feet into a rock.
Right.
And just walks up to him and is like, I have nothing to prove to you.
It's amazing, dude. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Great scene.
So awesome.
Yeah. Reaches her hand out like she's going to pick him up, and then when he reaches back for it, she just drags him back to his ship.
Yeah.
Puts him in and is basically, it says, send the Supreme Intelligence a message. She's not in control, and I'm coming back to end this war, and that is what it is,
Yeah.
And sends him off into, he tries to start up his ship. It starts to stall out, so she just photon blasts it, and it just takes off.
Yeah. Man, so she has got super crazy powers at this point. And you kind of watch this and just go, is she just like straight up the strongest superhero in the entire MCU now? Because we've never seen anybody like Thor has come close, but we've never seen him just straight fly through and take out an entire fleet of ships like this before. This is some kind of overpower type stuff, almost like getting to that OP kind of thing. Like, do we think she's overpowered? We'll see. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, like, I mean, is she just going to show up and just straight fly a hole through Thanos and like, you guys go, I don't know what was so hard about that.
I said from first viewing on, and I haven't changed there, I feel like they could have gotten the exact same effect through one giant missile instead of 50.
Yeah.
Now, granted, she knocked out 49 of them with the first one, but it still seemed like she could have been just as powerful without it feeling way overdone. There could have been an air of mystery to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Would have been the way to say it. They could have left themselves open to, well, she's clearly crazy powerful, but how powerful is she?
Yeah.
Whereas she's just flying in space through spaceships she literally takes one out just by going wide and just plowing right through it. It just seemed like they went real far, real fast there. Now, I don't know what's next for her. I don't know how she fits into Endgame. I'm not complaining about any of this yet. I'm just going to leave it open to interpretation as the movies go forward. I don't have any reason to assume they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So I'm fine with it. It felt like too much to me. Mm-hmm. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt until I see more.
Okay.
Good point.
Solid.
So I've been thinking on this since we talked about that. Because I don't see a difference between like her being overpowered and like the kind of power that they give Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not a big Superman fan, and part of that's because I feel like he's kind of overpowered.
I was going to say, isn't that everybody's complaining about Superman all the time? Is that he's overpowered?
Right.
And he's got kryptonite. Does she have a kryptonite?
I mean, I assume she's got to have something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with John. It kind of depends on where it goes.
Yeah. Maybe Rogue's going to show up and steal a bunch of that power.
Of the power.
I think it's possible now, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't they at this point?
Man, I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be a terrible way to end that.
He'll probably show up wearing black leather because yellow spandex just won't.
Oh, boo! Yellow and green with a bomber jacket on. Maybe she steals that bomber jacket from Carol too.
She steals the bomber jacket.
That's where Rogue gets that.
Maybe so. I don't know. I think we need I almost wonder how much it's not kind of set up there, because we need a character that feels like their game changer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Thanos showed up, and Thanos felt like a game changer on the other side.
Right.
You know, so like we kind of, did they want to set us up with someone, and for it to be Nick Fury's last line of defense,
mm-hmm.
Like she's got to feel like a game changer.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably maybe a little bit of that.
Well, I think you're right, but I think you're right in the sense that I think they're trying to make everybody think oh yeah, now they got Captain Marvel, so
Yeah.
she's going to be the one to save the day.
Right.
Except I think that's a swerve, because I don't think she's going to be the one, kind of a thing. And I think
Maybe.
we've already kind of talked about some ideas before, and
Yeah.
like I have strongly felt that Nebula is going to have a big part in the takedown at the
Yeah.
end.
I hope so.
Yeah. But I can totally see this being a thing where they're like Captain Marvel's kind of meant for everybody to go, oh yeah, now we've got Captain Marvel. She'll totally be the one to save the day. And you know
Right.
what I mean? And then we kind of, I don't know. I think it's a swerve.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
We'll see.
Time
Well,
will tell
let me
in 4 days.
in 4
And
days.
tomorrow, after this
Tomorrow,
podcast,
yeah.
for everybody watching this podcast, yes.
This is all
Well,
live.
there's
We're
a
here
very
right now.
very short window where it'll be time will tell, and where it'll just be, hey, go watch
Yeah.
watch Endgame. Tell us what you think. No, okay, so let me put this out there. How much, like, we talk about her being overpowered? Does it feel that way because she's a woman and we're not used to women
No.
being overpowered?
No.
It feels that way because nothing in the MCU is anywhere close to Superman. So, like, the closest thing you can go is go, well, I mean, it's just like Superman. It's not that big a deal, except that that's a different universe, a different realm.
Right.
Of, that is a big deal here.
Yeah, like she unlocked her powers, flew into space, and then just flew holes through an entire fleet of spaceships.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anybody do that in the MCU.
Yeah.
And like I said, the closest we've gotten is Thor unlocking his lightning and beating up a bunch of skull dudes on Asgard, but that's not the same as flying up into space and just wiping out an entire fleet
Yeah.
of ships. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that we have
Even
not
Heimdall
seen.
with those 2 knives only took out 1 spaceship.
Yeah. So this is
It's not a gender thing at all. It's a precedent
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
We've just never seen anything like that in these movies. So
You're right. So that was my only thing with that. All right. What are some other things we should probably talk about here right at the end? Nick Fury gets his eye scratched
Nick Fury gets his eyes
by the
scratched.
Flurkin.
Yeah, which is the worst part of this movie.
Disappointing, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how I felt too. Or not, maybe not disappointing, but underwhelming, or just. I guess disappointing is right.
Disappointing is
Disappointing
right.
is right.
Disappointing is right. And it it underlines what's wrong with his character in this movie, because him getting his eye scratched out is played for a laugh.
yeah.
You know, when it's been a defining character trait.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we saw him burn the eye patch when S.H.I.E.L.D. was over. We saw him, he had to come in, I mean, if you want to get ahead of me, you got to keep both eyes open. Was like, the hero moment of Winter Soldier, so like that's been so much Nick Fury, and now just randomly the cat scratched it on a whim. Like, no, that's weak.
Yeah.
Weak sauce. And you played it for a laugh. You want me to laugh? Like, he's been the spy.
Yeah.
And
even the reaction he gave, like, he just got his eye scratched out. He's like, it's probably fine, right?
Yeah.
And they do that thing where everybody's like, and then he just hangs out in a cabin for a couple of days.
Right.
Like, go get that thing looked at.
Yeah, singing as the postman.
If you can't see out of it, stop singing and go to a doctor.
Right, right, yeah. So we got that scene at the end there where he's also in the office, right?
Yep.
And we get the Coulson interaction.
Well,
we
get Captain Marvel flying off with the Skrulls.
Yes.
So we don't want to forget that part. Okay. That's basically the ending of her story. Is she does decide to leave Earth. She's going to help these guys find a home somewhere.
Okay.
She'll be back before you know it, is what she tells the little girl. Yeah. Which clearly is just a lie.
Yeah.
A lie.
Yeah. But that's the end of her story on Earth until we meet her again
for Endgame.
That we know of.
Yeah. Well, that we know of, I guess. There could be another Captain Marvel movie in between that's set.
Well, yeah, I guess she could come back to Earth and then
Yeah.
nobody realizes and leave again, or who knows. But
so we can also so she says she's going to go help the Skrulls find a home. She also tells Judrog to deliver the message that she's come into the Skrulls, and she's gonna break down all their lies. The Kree, she's coming back for the Kree, and she's gonna break down all their lies and set everything straight.
Yeah,
we know from the Guardians that the Skrull Empire is completely different by the time we get to Guardians. That
the Kree Empire.
Sorry, I keep doing that. The Kree Empire is completely different. Like they're, even the Accusers are not the Accusers anymore, and Ronan is regarded as an extremist terrorist by the time we get there.
Yeah.
So
because the Kree are signing treaties.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's probably pretty busy, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
she cleaned that up.
Right.
We get the Nick Fury thing where he's typing up the idea.
Yeah.
The Protector Initiative.
The Protector Initiative,
Yeah.
and then he sees the picture of Carol on her plane, and like it says Avenger on the side of her plane, and he changes it to the Avenger Initiative.
It's a good thing Bruce Wayne sent him that press kit.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. It's just so shoehorned in there at the end.
It just we didn't need it.
Yeah.
We didn't need that, but yeah, agreed. I agree with that. But that pretty much wraps up Captain Marvel. What was our credit scenes?
The mid-credit sequence is the one with the Avengers. So
Okay.
we got Captain America,
and
Black
then
Widow, and War Machine. And,
Banner.
Banner are all there
because the pager stops beeping.
Yeah. Did they say how long it had been? I felt like they did, but when I listened for it again, I don't know if I missed it or they didn't. I thought they.
I don't remember them saying.
Because at one point they said like I thought we bypassed the battery,
right?
Which maybe that's all I'm thinking of. That insinuates it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it just stops going, and they're debating trying to get it back started, and not knowing what it even does, and. Somebody says, well, we don't, I think it's Banner who's like, we don't even know what this thing does. And Black Widow's like, well, Fury did. So start it back up. And then they all turn around and Captain Marvel's standing there and she just goes, where's Fury?
Yeah.
And then boom, end of that. And then the actual post-credit sequence is just Goose jumping up on Nick Fury's desk and puking up the Tesseract.
Yep. Which is how S.H.I.E.L.D. got it, apparently.
Right.
That's how S.H.I.E.L.D. got their hands on the Tesseract.
Which I also brought up to John. Because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have a bunch of dead Kree. So do we think Goose just threw up all those Kree he ate too?
Wow.
Is that where they got the Tahiti bodies?
Oh, wow. Interesting. I bet so. That's the best explanation I got. Jeez, that's awesome. All right, what's your Captain Marvel rating?
Ooh, my Captain Marvel rating is... I don't know. We'll say 3.5 photons?
3.5 photons. Okay.
I liked it.
I like it
a lot. I think I will like it a lot better post Endgame. Like I think when I own this one, it'll be one that I watch a lot because I like this movie a lot. I just feel like everything's kind of in a holding pattern because I just want to see what happens in Endgame. I just want to get there.
You're totally right.
So
totally right.
I feel like once we get on the other side of that, when I buy the Blu-ray, I'll probably watch this Blu-ray a whole bunch.
After I see Endgame, I mean, I'm the same way. When I get a hold of this movie on Blu-ray, I'm going to end up watching it again. Yep. And I think I will like it more at that point because I feel the same way. Like, I liked this movie when I was watching it. I didn't feel like I walked away loving it.
Yeah.
But, like, I strongly like it.
Right.
And I think it's just the same thing. I think I'm just in that, like, in-between stage of Infinity War and Endgame and these other movies that are happening right now, just like they're there and they're great and I'm glad we've got them, but like I want
just
Endgame.
Taken the year off between Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, so I'm interested to go back to this one and see how I feel about it watching it again.
Yep.
All right, if we are done discussing Captain Marvel, now that we have wrapped up our entire look back at the MCU films and Endgame is the next one, we figured it was time to rank all of these movies.
It's time.
So,
I feel like we need Michael Buffer. Like I
know, right?
This is the most epic ranking to ever rank a set of movies.
It was tough, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like there's some of these that just kind of, I don't know, I don't like putting numbers in front of them sometimes because there's a lot of these that I really like, and I'm just like, the number makes it look like I don't like it, but I do really like it, so it's tough. But we've done this at the end of every phase, and so we each individually ranked them, so they're probably going to be different from each other. I'm sure they're not going to be exactly the same. You just want me to jump in first again since I did it last time?
Yeah, go for it.
It's fine.
All right, we're going to go bottom to top.
Bottom to top.
Here's my ring. We have 21 movies to rank now in the MCU. So at the bottom of the list at number 21 is still Iron Man 2.
Yep.
20 is Thor Dark World.
Yep.
19 is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Right above that at 18 is Ant-Man.
Okay.
So those two are right next to each other there.
Yep.
I feel like, just from the bottom three, even up to Ant-Man, like the quality jumps up a little bit. But even from Ant-Man, like I feel like this point here is where the quality starts changing. Incredible Hulk is at 17.
Okay.
I put Captain Marvel at 16.
Ooh,
yep, it's pretty. It's a little low.
It's low.
Iron Man 3 is at 15.
Yep.
Age of Ultron at 14.
Okay.
Thor 1 is at 13. I ranked Doctor Strange above that at 12. Black Panther at 11. This is where things are getting hard, right around here. Okay, I would say 11 up is tough. Yeah. So Black Panther's at 11. Iron Man 1 is at 10. It still ranks very high on my list. And I remember talking about way back in that episode how I felt like that was still one of my all-time favorites. Yep. So it is still in my top 10.
Okay.
Civil War is 9. Guardians Volume 2 is 8. Captain America the First Avenger at 7.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming at 6, and it was actually really hard for me to place those two, like, because I really love the first Captain America, but I think my geekness for Spider-Man pushed it above.
Okay.
But then my top 5,
Yep.
Thor Ragnarok is at 5. Yep. I knew that one was going to be in my top 5. There was no way around it. Guardians of the Galaxy sits at number 4. I have rearranged my tops a little bit since the last time. Winter Soldier now sits at 3. Infinity War is at 2.
Okay.
The very first Avengers is my number 1.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my list.
Okay.
Who's up next? John?
Sure. Yep,
okay.
I can go in. Okay. So there's some similarities, especially at the bottom.
We're all going to have the same bottom 3.
I think our bottom,
bottom 4, probably.
Yeah. I think
I got Iron Man 2 at the bottom. I've got Thor the Dark World next. I've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Ant-Man.
This is the same. Did you copy off me?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But now, so there's 17 movies left?
Yeah.
And I think at least 15 of them are in my top 10.
Okay.
Oh, give him. Okay.
So,
come on, John.
So it gets rough already.
Yeah.
Man up and commit.
I put Thor next.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
First Thor, way lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And then Incredible Hulk right after that. I'm giving Incredible Hulk a little bit of a nudge because of my respect for it. Even though it sort of outplaces that could easily be a little lower. Not much. I guess it could easily be 1 to 2 lower, but I want it higher than that, you know. I got the first Iron Man next after that. I really thought Phase 2 was going to occupy most of my bottom stretch, but really just those 2 weak points. The rest of it was a lot stronger than I remembered coming through. So I got a lot of Phase 1 down there because I really just feel like we sort of grew
we just
from there, you know?
Bigger.
Yeah, so no disrespect to them at all.
Yeah.
We just, they keep getting better for the most part. I've actually got Captain Marvel next.
Okay.
That's another one that I can see shifting one way or the other within a few years here.
Yeah.
Right now, that's where it sits. Iron Man 3 after that, my favorite of the Iron Man movies, but that's still it's lower than I would have expected, as all of these are outside of the top 5. Then I got Black Panther, Age of Ultron, which honestly probably gets a little bit of a bump just for being an Avengers movie.
Yeah. What number are we on? I'm missing your numbers.
Well, I don't have the numbers. That's the problem.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yep. So let's see. So that was 11.
Okay.
So Age of Ultron was 11. So now we're in the top 10. Top 10, I got Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Okay.
All right.
Saved by the last hour. If the first hour was a little stronger, it would probably be 3 spots higher on the list. But man, does it pull in strong. I got Doctor Strange. I really wanted to get that higher on my list. That's just like
it's in your top 10 though.
Every time I sit there, I just love
it's
that
so
movie
good.
more and more.
I love it.
It's so much fun. Then I've got the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Yep.
Okay.
You got Captain America: Civil War after that.
Okay.
Followed by Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay.
I've got Spider-Man: Homecoming up in my top 5, and again, a lot lower than I would have expected that one to be.
Okay.
Even in the top 5. Thor Ragnarok coming next. There's not a situation I can imagine being in where I wouldn't think putting Thor Ragnarok on would be fun.
It's
gotta be
so
up there,
good,
yeah,
man.
every second of it. Here's probably my surprise to myself on here is I actually bumped down the original Joss Whedon Avengers down to 3
Okay.
on the list. Everything I've ever said about it still holds true.
Yeah.
I still get tingles every time I watch it. The problem is I think I reserved the number 2 spot for what I feel is the best standalone movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universes, which is Captain America: Winter Soldier. Start to finish. If you're not looking at franchises, if you're not looking at building towards things, if you're just looking at a well-made superhero movie that spans a few genres, that's my go-to right there. And then the top of the list is Avengers: Infinity War, which I think, it does everything the first Avengers did, but bigger.
Yeah.
It is not. I don't know if it's a movie that would play nearly as well if it didn't have 18 movies of backup going into it, but it does.
Right.
And all the tingles I get from all the moments in the first Avengers movie, I get all those in Infinity War, plus an extra half an hour's worth,
Right.
plus an extra 5, different franchises worth. Like, everything just comes together in that movie so well.
Yeah.
And as perfect as the first Avengers was, doing it 6 years later with 10 other movies guiding it through is much more impressive to me.
Absolutely.
So
cool. We had a lot of similar spots too for some of those movies. So, all right, where are you at, Jam?
All right, here we go. 21, Dark World. I still think that is the worst watch. I think it is the worst watch.
But that Loki death.
totally fair.
20. 20 is Iron Man 2, which gets bumped up because I hate it enough that I'm entertained by hating it. 19, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I got to tell you, I was almost tempted to bump Iron Man 2 above Ant-Man and Wasp.
Oh, wow.
Just on the basis that Iron Man 2 failed that spectacularly for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's memorably bad.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and Wasp is just like a it's just a non-quantity, like I don't remember it at all. It's a better watch than Dark World, much less memorable than Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 2 is such a piece of garbage. I was not willing to give it the satisfaction of bumping it up a spot. 18, Ant-Man. 17, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I knew you were going to put Spider-Man low.
Low.
There's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man?
There's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man. So I feel like you guys have both talked about how it's hard to put yours, you know what I mean, and 15 of yours, John, are in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like mine are in a pretty definitive order.
Okay.
Now that I've got them in order. What I will say is, like, the margins, man, like this is it's not like a wide margin. None of these are 17 with a bullet. You know what I mean? Like they're all pretty close. But I think this is a pretty good order. So 16 is The Incredible Hulk. 15 is Thor. 14 is where I've got Age of Ultron. 13 for Iron Man. Black Panther comes in at 12. Captain Marvel at 11. And those two were tough for me to like those. Either one of those could flip flop. They're one of the few spots where they could argue there. Iron Man 3 at 10. Guardians 2 at 9. Doctor Strange at 8.
So good.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah. I love Doctor
That was one of my
man.
favorite ones to revisit through this whole thing. I feel like. all the movies, they've all been fun to go back and watch, but
Yeah.
like I feel like Doctor Strange is the standout where I like got a brand new appreciation for it by watching
yeah.
it for this show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I had that, funnily enough, with the Guardians 2 and Iron Man 3.
Oh, okay.
I felt
Yeah.
like not a new appreciation. For Iron Man 3, it was a remembrance of how much I liked that movie.
Yeah.
For Guardians 2, it was like I was really looking at it, because as I've said over and over, I try to look at them with a little more critical eye.
Right.
Instead of just being like, I love the Marvel movies, which I do.
Yeah.
This was one that it helped. Like, as I was looking at it, I was like, man, this is a really, really smart movie.
Yeah.
For Guardians 2. Okay, 7, Civil War. 6 is First Avenger. And 5 is Winter Soldier. 4 is Ragnarok. 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 is Avengers. And number 1 is Infinity War for me.
Awesome.
Yep.
All 3 of our top 5s are basically the same movies, almost like
In different
orders. Yeah. Like we're pretty much on the same page, I feel like, with a lot of those. That's awesome. So now you guys make these lists.
Yep.
Use the comment section on YouTube or go to the Facebook page by searching for Geek Easy Podcast. We want to see your lists. Put all 21 of these movies in order. We'll see how different they are from all of ours. It'll be interesting to see everybody's lists and how they rank them. Because we're assuming that you watched all of these with us as you were listening to these podcasts. So get to it, guys. And that brings us to the end of our journey, right?
Man, yep.
No, it's not the end. It's just a long pause.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're planning on, this is the end of the journey leading up to Endgame.
Right.
Marvel movies aren't going anywhere anytime soon. We got 2 more coming out in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
We will be back with more mini episodes as they drop.
Right.
But this is really this is the end of the event run.
Yes.
Of the marathoning of trying to get all these through, so we can get all of our opinions out there, so that you can agree or disagree or yell or cheer or whatever it is you feel like doing at your screens. You can take the ride with us right up through Endgame, and now we're here at that point.
Right.
Every ending is just a new beginning, Dan.
That's right. So
Something.
Well, it's something. So we'll always drop a new episode of Marvel Good Yay anytime there's a new Marvel movie to discuss. So you can definitely expect to be coming back for our discussion on Endgame after we see it. So it'll be really good stuff. So with that being said, guys, the podcast is available on multiple different platforms. So there's still plenty of time to subscribe because there's going to be lots of stuff still to talk about in the future. So head on over to YouTube, do a search for Geek Easy Podcast, and hit that subscribe button. Or if you prefer the audio versions, you can tune in on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Play, on Stitcher, on Podbean, or your favorite podcasting app. Rate us, review us, follow us, do all that good stuff. And get ready, guys. We're in the end game now.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.